covers the key of C major. Before we get into it, make sure that you have a decent understanding of playing technique. I have a 10-lesson bootcamp series that goes over actually really similar material, but it gets into greater depth and detail for the technique that you're going to use to play these things. And of course, technique is the most important thing for linear progression. So I highly recommend refreshing, going back, checking out the first time, just making sure that stuff is kind of fresh in your mind. Don't worry, the video's right here. So, for those of you that came back, or for those of you that already know, let's move on. So the key of C. Let's take a look at the key signature, right? Nothing. No sharps, no flats. Just a fun little kind of aside. This doesn't always denote C major. It can actually mean what we call an atonal key. It just basically means the composer used so many sharps and flats and it follows so few rules of Western harmony that it's just like, it's not it. So, fun little thing next time you're at a party. Maybe you want to talk about some music you don't like. It was atonal in its presentation at best. Give you a little tip to sound smarter. But moving on, the first concept of C major we're going to cover is the tonic triads and inversions. Alright, tonic triads and inversions. Let's take a look at our C major scale first. So, tonic means the first note. It's the home tonic of your key. So of course, that is going to be the first note of our C major scale is a C, right? We build our chord, stack thirds, C, E, and G. And then inversions is just saying that we flip the order of the notes. I've previously explained this concept in videos, so we're just going to take a look at what it looks like in music. If you need a refresher on that, check out those earlier videos. So we have our root position triad starting on C, our first inversion triads moving to E, second inversion starting on a G, and then of course our root position an octave up now on C. And we're going to do the same thing going back down. So let's take a look at the piano and figure out how to play this. Alright, let's get started with that right hand. So we're going to find our root position tonic triad. Thumb over C, third finger over E, and our fifth finger, our pinky, is going to be over G. Alright, we're going to press this down. Now we're going to move into first inversion. So watch the fingering. First finger over E, second finger over G, and pinky is over C. The shape opens, and as we move, we land on the chord. Now, we're going to move on to our second inversion chord. Our thumb moves to G, our third finger plays on C, and our pinky plays on E. We're going to press that down. And now we're going to move up to the position we started in, just an octave higher. Our thumb is on C, third finger's on E, and pinky is over G. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing going back down. Right, so we're going to move down into that second inversion triad. So the bottom note is a G with our thumb, C is the middle note with our third finger, and the top note is the E with our pinky, fifth finger. We're going to move down. Watch how the notes keep flipping. It's the same three notes the whole time. So our bottom note is now an E, second finger is on G, and then our pinky is on C. And now we're going to go back right where we started. Our thumb is over C, third finger is over E, and pinky is over G. Alright, let's get started with the left hand now. So, C position. Pinky over C, third finger over E, and our thumb is over G. Alright, now we're going to move into our first inversion. So, the top two notes are our bottom two notes. So that E and the G is now at the bottom. The pinky, our fifth finger is on E, your third finger is on G, and your thumb is over C. Now we're going to move again. Same thing. Top two become bottom two. So the G and the C are going to be on the bottom now. So our pinky is on G. Make sure you get your second finger on C. So different fingering now. And then your thumb is going to be on E. Second inversion, hold it down. Now we're going to move into our root position triad. Same thing as where we started, just an octave higher. Pinky on C, third finger on E, and your thumb, first finger, is on G. Now we're going to do the same thing going down. So watch that top note, the G, it's going to move to the bottom. So our bottom note is pinky on G, second finger on C, and thumb on E. Now we're gonna move down again. So we're gonna have our bottom note of pinky on E, third finger on G, thumb on C, and we're gonna move down right back to where we started. Pinky on C, third finger on E, and thumb on G. Alright, so before we put our hands together, it is very important that we work on the movement. So if you have to stick with hands separate for really any of these concepts, that's totally fine. When you're doing hands together chords in these types of exercises, you want your hands to move as a unit. They go like this, not like this. Right, so if you're still doing that, that's okay. Sometimes you need to check to kind of see where it's at. But go back to hands separate. You need to be comfortable and confident with where your hands are going to move. We don't just practice notes, but we practice movement patterns. So practicing an efficient movement pattern is going to pay off way more in the long run than practicing notes with poor technique and poor movement. When you feel ready, try your hands together. Next, we're going to cover the primary chord progression, and probably what that means too, would be helpful. So to better explain that, we should probably take a look at the C major scale. So, our primary chord progression has our 1, our 4, and our 5 chord in it. So, what does that mean? Well, simply put, we build those chords off the 1st, 4th, and 5th notes of the scale. Why is this important? All music is based off of this tension and resolution that we get from our 1 and our 5 chord. And probably the most common chord after that would be our 4 or some sort of representation of a 4 chord, right? If you were to think of music as a burger, personally I love burgers, so it's pretty easy for me to do so. The 5 is your patty and the buns are the 1s. So the 5s are pretty much always held together by the 1s, and every student should learn their chord progression, primary chord progression, for every key, because it's just so much easier to understand what is happening in your music when you can recognize these chords and these tones. So, back to C major. You'll notice that the 5 chord has a little 7 next to it. That just means that it's a 4-note chord. We are going to have other videos explaining why and all that great stuff. I'm a huge theory nerd, so I am super looking forward to it. But for now, this is just playing. So conceptually, doesn't really matter. Just know that's a 4-note chord. You're going to notice when we actually play it, we're going to take out the 3rd note. And that is, well, to, again, not have a long explanation, but it's just what we call like an assumed note. It's not important to the harmony as much as the top note of our 5-7 chord, our G7, in this case, the F. So, let's figure out how to play and arrange our primary chords in a progression. Alright, so the progression we're going to play is 1, 4, 1, 5, 7, 1. So this is great because it's going to help you learn how to open and close your hand. The primary chord progressions should be done with different inversions of the chord because they practice smooth voice leading, and they also help the musician conceptually and just technically get better at visualizing the expansion and contraction of hand shapes. So let's take a look at C major with our right hand. Alright, so let's start in that same tonic triad root position. Thumb on C, 3rd finger on E, pinky on G. Alright, now we're going to open our hand shape. So our thumb is staying put on C. Our 3rd finger stretches open to F and pinky stretches to A. You'll notice this is a different arrangement, but it's the same notes of our 4 chord. F, A, and C. We've just arranged it C, F, and A. And for those of you that are curious, this is our 2nd inversion because the 3rd note of the chord is at the bottom. So we got this 4 chord. Now we're going to move back, close the shape back to our root position triad, C, E, and G, 1, 3, and 5. Now for our 5-7 chord, our thumb is going to open, but we're going to play with our 4th finger on the F, pinky on the G, and that thumb that open is going to press down on our B. So just like I said before, this is omitting the D. This is just a common thing that we often see in music, so it's helpful for students to visualize 3 voices moving instead of adding a 4th note. So we got this, and now we're going to move back to our 1 chord. Thumb over C, 3rd finger over E, and pinky over G. And that's it. Alright, now same thing with our left hand. So, tonic triad, root position. Pinky over C, 3rd finger over E, and thumb over G. Now, the only thing that's going to move here is our thumb. Our thumb opens to A, our 2nd finger is already over F, and our pinky stays put over C. I'm going to press this down. Now, our hand shape contracts. We go back to that original position, C, E, and G, 1, 3, and 5. Now the pinky opens up, so that pinky is going to play B, your 2nd finger is over F, and your thumb is over G. Press it down, and then we're going to contract the shape one more time to our original root position chords, C, E, and G, 5, 3, and 1. Alright, so before you put your hands together, make sure that your wrists are staying relaxed when you're playing chords. There's like a gentle kind of rise and fall of the hands. When your fingers are firm and your wrists are relaxed, they kind of just take care of themselves in that way. So make sure that your hands are relaxed, you don't feel tight or tense, and if you do, that's totally part of the learning process and it's okay. Just go back to hands separate. So if you feel like you're ready, let's try hands together. Alright, so last concept. Tonic triad arpeggio. So we already should know what that tonic triad is by now. We've talked about it enough. We're just going to work on opening our hand shape and playing the notes as an arpeggio, as a broken chord, instead of a blocked chord. Alright, let's get started with our right hand. So, when you put your hand out to play arpeggios, start with an open hand shape. So often students will start with their hand closed and then they try opening as they're finding the notes and then just like, oh, it's a mess. Give yourself the best chance for success. Start with the open hand. So we're gonna have our thumb over C, 2nd finger over E, and 3rd finger over G. Open your hand before you start playing. All right, so we're gonna press down these notes. We're gonna go C, we're gonna go E, we're gonna go G, and then we're gonna use that thumb tucking, wrist turning technique that we talked about in the arpeggio video in the bootcamp series to move our thumb to C. Now the hand opens up into the same position that it started in, just an octave higher. So now we have our 2nd finger over E, we're gonna press it down, 3rd finger over G, and because our hand is open, our pinky should already be over the top C. Now it's the same thing coming down, just in reverse, right? So we're gonna play the G with our 3rd finger, we're gonna play the E with our 2nd finger, and then we're gonna play the C with our thumb. Now we're gonna cross over, turn the wrist, don't pick up the elbow, all that good technique stuff we talk about. 3rd finger is to G, 2nd finger is to E, and your thumb lands safely on C. Alright, now we're going to do the left hand. So just like with the last one, we're going to keep an open hand shape. So our pinky's on C, our 3rd finger is over E, 2nd finger is over G, and our thumb is over C. Even if you can't yet reach an octave, just open your hand. It has so much less space to travel when you start with the open hand. So now we're going to play the notes. We're going to put down that pinky on the C, the third finger on the E, second finger on G, thumb plays C. Now we're gonna cross over, turn and tuck, nice relaxed hand. Third finger goes to E, second finger goes to G, and that thumb should already be over C. Now we're gonna go right back down. So second finger on G, third finger over E, hopefully they were already there. We're gonna tuck that thumb under, turn the wrist ever so slightly, thumb on C, and now the hand opens up into the other three notes. Second finger on G, third finger on E, and pinky over C. Alright, so before you put your hands together, the most important thing you should be kind of checking for and asking yourself, can you keep your hands open in the shape, but can they stay relaxed? If you feel like you are comfortable and confident enough with this, try putting your hands together. And very often, it's kind of like juggling when you throw in an extra ball. It becomes a little bit harder. So that's okay, you can bring it back down to hands separate, but remember, the most important thing is feeling your hand shaped open, but it's not tight, it's not relaxed. The hand's open, but those wrists are just chilling. All right? So, if you feel like you're ready, we're gonna move on to hands together. That is the key of C. I sincerely hope this was informative and helpful for you on your piano journey. As always, don't forget to like, don't forget to comment. It really helps the algorithm. Subscribe, turn on those post notifications. And if you appreciate the content, check out the merch. I'm actually wearing one of my favorite ones, the Young Mozart shirt. The Vive ut Vivas underneath the eye and those sick tattoos. So, yeah, if you want some slick drip, definitely check out the shop. Appreciate all of you guys. Keep practicing. Stay powerful, y'all.